everyone's still young. Who knows, like, how this podcast is going to go. So totally screw up, And I've seen a difference in who they're choosing to date. And I get a little bit like, I don't know, like, okay, wait, am I doing ADD or something? Please, I was like, yes, please. Like, I'm so going back also to, this whole book that I had read about just like the power of being positive is by creating an environment that is positive. It, even if it's not intentional at first, like many times my mom at some point, like she has a tendency, depending on where she's at seasonally in life, because sometimes, take on a critical note. I think we can all do that. And I tend to adopt that, and all of a sudden it becomes like really infectious, where it's like you can start kind of getting critical or negative and cynical. And it's like, and then me and her sometimes we'll get together and I'm like, oh my gosh, listen to us. Like, we've got to stop this, But I just remember thinking, like, I'm making a decision when my kids were young. I was like, I'm going to make a decision to be positive. Like, I want to be a positive cheerleader role model for them. And I always just tried to maintain that. And, it was very intentional at first. And there's many times, and this is what a friend of mine were talking about just recently, is there were many times in my life where you think of something positive. Like, let's say like you're around a friend and you're just saying, oh my gosh, like their makeup looks really good today. It's like, then say it, you need to say it. And, or you're like walking around, like we'll say it to strangers. Like sometimes we'll just be like, oh, I love your purse, cause we're feeling good and we just want to be nice. And we're like, I like her purse. So I feel like saying it, but say it to your husband, say it to your boyfriend, say it to the people that are your friends, walk in and just say, find something that you appreciate about them that minute, and just be like, I just wanted to tell you, I really love that you do this. And I just was thinking that, and I just wanted you to know. Like recently, with my coworkers, I try to create a very positive work atmosphere too. I feel like it creates a safe place, and it creates like a healthy work environment, creates like better creativity, because that's another thing is creativity and anxiety also cannot coexist. Like the part of your brain that being creative, like that helps lower your anxiety as well. So as long as you're in a creative mindset, but then that also means the opposite. If you're always in fight or flight, or if you're in like a really hostile environment, then you're not going to be able to reach your full potential in creativity, which is the reason why having a salon that is part of a creative space, and where all of my workers need to be creative. That's one reason also why to me it's very important for us to have a very safe work environment. And I will tell you from a lot of people, including my experience, there are a lot of salons out there. The salon industry is not exactly known for being the most like full of stability and positivity amongst like coworkers. It can be sometimes pretty cutthroat, and everyone's kind of on their own island and fighting their own egos. And it's not everybody's like that. I feel like, a lot of the more successful artists that I've hung around, like they have a very positive and really great, they're secure in who they are. I mean, but some like people that are actually more insecure, they can definitely project that insecurity, and it kind of comes across as being very like hostile in those environments. I mean, it's just immaturity. And so I mean, like, that's why it was just really important for me. And I will say that a lot of people who've worked with me, and worked at my salon had a lot of positive things to say. When one of my girls, she had to move to Houston because she had a baby and started a family. So her fiance and her moved to Houston, and she was like, when are you going to open up a Glow Gal salon here in Houston? And I was like, oh, I mean, that was such a huge compliment to me, because she was one of my artists that was with me during the pandemic, like right whenever we opened up. So not only did I feel like I created a work environment that was good, she was like, that was honestly one of my best work, experience ever, was working for you, Laura. And I was just like, that is such a huge compliment because we went through it. Like we went through some things. She was put on bed rest and then she came off of bed rest. We went through the pandemic. Like we really went through a lot together. And so, for her to say that, even personally after going through so much stuff, and I was going through the divorce too, so I was able to maintain still a safe atmosphere for her. Made me feel really accomplished, made me feel really good. But I think it was because of my commitment to a positive attitude and a positive lifestyle. And that all started because I learned about the effects of positivity. And I still do that to my kids today. Like I hear all the time. And I mean, hey, we all, like with our closest friends, will unload and say things about like whoever's bothering us. And sometimes that's our kids. But I don't like, if possible, I really try hard not to talk badly as much as I can about my kids. Because honestly, I feel like, let's be honest, where'd they learn it from? Who's teaching them? I'm not saying you're responsible for all of their behavior. I'm not saying that, but, like you are teaching them how to, live and disciplining them or not disciplining them. So it's like, are you taking accountability for your part in that? So also, but that's a whole nother segment for a whole nother time. But, to get back on track, I feel like, speaking words of positivity to them and telling them who they are so that when the world hits them through, whether it be a jealous friend or a frenemy, as they say, or somebody who, or they're going through a hard time, or somebody who's just, a bully, a flat out bully or something. Like they're going to be encountering all this negativity. So for you to have that safe space where they're like, well, my mom's here and let me talk to her about this because she always kind of helps me reset my mind. And I can say, well, that doesn't sound like you. If I'm saying like, yep, that's you, you're totally a screw up, like that's not healthy. So it's like, okay, well, where is this coming from? Like, why do you feel like that? What's going on? I think that is just so important to create that safe space and have that positivity starting at home. And I think it creates them to where if you're already having such a positive atmosphere, when they go out and they're with other kids that are just, doing some of the things that aren't positive or not adding to their life and are taking them probably down a path that's not good for them, like they're going to stray away from that because they're going to see this like negativity that they're emitting and they're going to go, oh, that's uncomfortable. And so they're going to be more geared to like go for the kids that are also healthier, sound mind. And that also goes true with dating. Like this is such a snowball effect. Like that's how important it is to be positive and be a positive mother. Like that's how important it is because this can affect who they end up, not just, are who they're being, but like who they date, who they marry, who they, and if they're used to being around critical, if they're used to being around cynical, if they're used to being told what they're doing wrong and not all the things that they're great at and how wonderful they are, like, then they're going to start going, yeah, this feels more comfortable to be around this, boyfriend who's always being critical to me. And that's actually going to feel safe because it's going to be familiar. I want their familiar to be healthy. I want their familiar to be good and to be something that adds to their life so that everything they reject that feels really dark and ugly is the dark and ugly of the world. And so they themselves are going to naturally gravitate towards good things. So, I think that, I just, I send my kids a text because, or I sent my son a text the other day because this kid, I couldn't get him out of bed to save my life. Again, I'm not going to say which one it is, But I could not get him out of bed for the whole last year, to go to school. And he hates school. Like, he absolutely hates school. And I'm just like, I know, baby. I honestly, I did too. Like, I know exactly that pit in your stomach that you're feeling. And that's what I would tell him. I was like, I know, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. Like, I wish there was another way. And he was like, you can homeschool me. I was like, yes, please add to my plate. Like, that's exactly what I can do. So, I just flat out told him, like, yeah, I'm not doing that, but, let's maybe afterwards, I will sit with you and do your homework, and we'll make some hot tea, and we'll just kind of, do this together. And he was like, all right, fine. But I was so proud of him because recently he's been getting up and making himself like scrambled eggs in the morning and a whole breakfast and breakfast potatoes and like breakfast tacos. Like, he's legit like cooking these big breakfasts for himself. He's setting his alarm. He's waking up way before. He's, taking a shower, which he always showered before last time, but it would be like a rush and just like running out the door back, practically like still soaking wet. But he's like, getting up and having a morning routine that he's created himself that's really helping him, just live a better lifestyle. And he did all this on his own. And I'm over here thinking it. Like, I came home from my workout one morning and saw him doing all this. And I was thinking in my head, oh my gosh, like, what, babe, like, that is so amazing. Like, look at him. And I didn't say it. And I was so mad at myself later. I was like, why didn't you say how amazing he was? And then I texted him and I was like, hey, I just wanted to tell you, I just am so proud of what you're doing. And I've seen like you really grow as a person recently. And I just feel like I'm super proud of you, but I just wanted you to know that I noticed, and you should feel really proud of yourself. That's something that somebody said that was really interesting to me, is instead of just saying as a parent, you're proud of them, teach them how to tell themselves they're proud of themselves. And so I try to refrain as much from saying I'm proud of you, and use that sparingly, but still use it, of course. But I always say you should feel really proud of yourself. Because then they'll go, yeah, I am. Or I'll ask them, do you feel proud of yourself? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'm trying to train them how to teach themselves that, it's not arrogant to say I'm proud of myself. Like, I did good today. I will tell my kids that sometimes, even whenever I first launched this podcast, I was just bebopping around on cloud 9 just because I was really proud of myself for what I had accomplished, because I had gone through so much this past 6 months. And, I will have another episode where I talk all about that, but it's been a real rough 6 months. And I didn't have any kind of like support or escapism, because I've been really searching for this more fulfillment and more my faith. And so I haven't allowed myself to be distracted by escapism, and I tried to really focus. And so it's caused me to just kind of like, have to really be disciplined and look for ways of, tuning into, positivity and things like that again. But it's also just been a really cool experience. And so whenever I launched this, it just felt like such a huge accomplishment. And regardless whether or not it had like 0 downloads or 1 download or however many it's gotten, like, I'm doing this because it feels good for me to, have this creative outlet. And I feel like I do have some stuff to talk to people about, and it feels good to share that. But basically, talk to yourself also the way that you would talk to a friend. Like, make sure, whatever it is you're telling yourself, like, if you have these moments of feeling like I'm stupid, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like all this self-doubt, don't, really stop yourself from saying that, because you wouldn't say that to a friend. And if you would, man, you got to really change like how you talk to your friend, because that's not cool. But, I really believe that you've got to treat yourself the way that you would treat others. And I hope you treat others in a very careful and loving way. So that is like my best takeaway from all of this is, how I incorporate that into my life is not just waking up, and doing a gratitude journal. I personally don't do that. because I do have to sit there and just kind of think, and I'm more up in my head instead of writing it down. I feel like sometimes when I write it down, I get a little bit like, I don't know, like, okay, wait, what am I doing? A little ADD or something. But I start to lose intention. But whenever I am very just sitting there and thinking about it and just, think about like, Laura, like that was one reason why I even did Instagram, like, and Facebook. Is a lot of the reasons why I do it is not because it's like, hey, look at me, everybody, like showing off my amazing lifestyle. It's really because I get to go back and I get to look at all my highlights, like how people say, like, it's their highlight reel. I look at my highlight reel and I look and say, Laura, you really actually have a lot to be grateful for. And it just kind of reminds me, and sometimes those bits that I choose not to post, that are negative and just really hard times in my life, they become smaller. And I do tend to forget them because I just focus on all these good things that have happened. And you know what? If you're in a season where it's a lot of not so great things, like I've been there too. And it's, like I said, I decided to make ice the thing that I was happy about. And it can be done, and gratitude can be done at any season. But that doesn't mean that you have to deny the hardship of what you're going through. It just means that instead of saying I'm a failure, saying these are the things I failed in, what can I do and what can I learn from this so that I can start changing my life? And what can I do? What do I have control over that I can change? Like if I'm broke and I am just starting to save up and get money, and then I had a huge catastrophe happen where I lost it all, I just never can seem to get up on my feet, money wise, things like that can be really daunting and that can be really hard. And, so, okay, let's rebuild and let's try something new. What did we not try, and there's always going to be something you haven't tried. Finding a financial advisor, talking, looking online. I mean, their information is endless. Trying a new business, how many businesses fail before one makes it, including myself. I have many failed businesses that didn't end up working. So heck, I mean, this one's still young. Who knows how this podcast is going to go. So, but the reason behind it is, because it brings me a lot of joy in other ways. And so, that is the, my take on positivity. It's really important because gratitude does rewire the brain. It actually completely changes, and that part of your reward system that's in your brain that becomes more neurotransmitters, and because it's been activated and it's living in an active state as you constantly are trying to be more gracious. Those neurotransmitters are starting to really form more bonds and becoming a lot more to where it's going to start taking over. And that's how you rid yourself of some of this anxiety. And I've noticed that as I've done that, I've been able to, during hard times, snap out of it because my actual brain has gotten trained, but very intentionally trained. I used to, and friends will vouch for this, that I used to come over to my house. I had pocket protectors or page protectors, not pocket protectors. I don't know why I said that, but page protectors all inside my cabinets in my kitchen. And I used to put positive things about what I was feeling and things of that nature, or cognitive distortions in there, to just really make sure that when I was wanting to starting to get frustrated or starting to get angry, or something was starting to trigger me, I would just open up a cabinet and look at it, because I was you got to retrain your brain. And I was really intentional about training my brain to be positive. I don't think everybody just has a positive. There are people out there. I have some clients that are absolutely amazing, and they are the most positive people. And this woman just doesn't seem like she ever has a bad day, ever. The whole world could be falling apart. She's so there are some people that their brain is just wired with a ton of dopamine and endorphins, but I'm not one of those people. I had to work at it, and I had to train to be the way that I am. And I'm so grateful that I took the time to do that, because because I've seen the benefit in my family. I've seen the benefit in my kids, the people that they hang around, and I've seen a difference in who they're choosing to date. And I just think like it really ripples effects. So make it intentional for yourself. Make sure you're doing it, whether or not you are a mom or you're just somebody that works amongst people. We do not live on an island. So as long it will become contagious. And honestly, the people that are negative and cynical, they're not going to be around you as much. So that's another way to kind of get rid of the more negative, type of people. Is the more positive you are, you're flat out annoying to them. So it's kind of nice. They kind of automatically just want to be away from you. So that's one way to do it. Be your own bug off spray. But that will do it for our episode for today. And next episode, I think we should change it up. I think we should do something a little bit more fun. I think we need to talk about dating. I don't know. I think I want to do something fun for the episode 5. So why not? 5 golden rings. I took, I had one on and I took it off and I put another one on. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as well. But I will wait until our next episode. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us at Bless Your Heart podcast. I'll talk to you later. Bye.